Another episode of Sales Chatter. Today is Mayhem Monday, where we pick the topic live on air and share strategies, tactics, and kind of the things that we found went wrong when we were using it. To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. Oh, what did that come up on your side, DJ? Because I have a tie.
It's a tie on my side.
It's a tie as well. All right.
I love you guys. Good morning, Jeff and Lisa. God, you guys are battling up Monday morning.
First thing, eh? Awesome. Good morning, Antoine, as well.
What's up, man?
So, how was the weekend, brother? Good?
It was good. It was good. How about you?
Good. Oh, fantastic. Work, more work.
Work.
And then my knee was just killing me yesterday. Killing me. So I took the day off, actually, which was nice. It was good. It didn't do very much. And then it was funny because my wife and I were talking on the weekend, and I was kind of sitting there when we were taking the day off, and I said, holy good doodle. I have no idea what I'm going to do with myself when this project's over. Like I've realized I don't quite know how to relax.
Now be honest. I was just gonna say. So, are you thinking of your next project? Are you actually gonna
Yes, which is crazy because there's a ton left to do. But yeah, and I shouldn't, because it's one of these things where we want to enjoy it. Like
exactly.
When you transform, when you transform an area, right. I've found. Even the last time when we did when I did a major deck at the back and put an outdoor kitchen and everything in, it was a lot of work. It was pretty much a whole summer. But it was like, as soon as it was done, it's like, okay, what's next? But that's very often how our sales happens, right? We go into sales and we're using something, or we're using a sales strategy that works. Yeah. We're like, what's next? What's next? Yes. And we forget. Maybe we neglect to use what works to get to that next level, right? Or you get some great advice and you're like, yes, and you write it down and you never utilize it. But it's crazy how. Anyways,
listen, I do that.
Get into a whole topic about that.
I was doing that a lot, but yeah. I know what you're saying.
And it's crazy because I think we've talked about paralysis by education quite a few times. And it's funny. I was having a conversation with a student last week where I actually I don't know if I've ever shared this or not, but in discussion with how long it actually takes me to get through training programs. So for example, I'm in two courses, right? Three major courses. And a 20-minute video usually takes me about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
Notes?
Because it's like you hear a portion and you stop, and I make sure I kind of map that out, and then I move to the next, and I map that out and I move to the next. And the last thing I do on the map is, how do I implement it now? And it's so it takes me a while, and I've once I shared that with this gentleman, it was like, really? And I said, yeah, because it's sometimes we have this speed to get to where we want to go. And I don't know if you remember when we had Bob Berg on a while ago, but he had said, you can't push a rope down a hallway, you can pull it. And I don't think there's a better analogy for a Monday morning. How many of us have tried to push a Monday through because we had a crazy weekend, or it was like Super Bowl
pushing that rope? Yes.
Yeah. And you're trying everything you can, and then the rope's around you and it's coming up over your hands, and you're just like, oh, you're getting so frustrated.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And instead of walking down to the end of the hall and going, so I don't know. But I don't even know how that came up.
I like it.
Oh, the weekend. How was your weekend?
Great analogy.
So, jeepers, did we just go off the rails there, brother? Or what? I hope it helped. I hope it helped somebody. So here we go. We got a full list. We're gonna go. Ready?
What strategy? Stop. I want one of those first ones, unless unless the pile changes.
Okay, so this is actually a really good one. Jeez. It's amazing how things connect. So, intention with every interaction. when a call goes off the rails, intention brings it back. Our conversation just went off the rails. Intention brings it back. Set intention before any action, the difference between doing or doing to accomplish a mission. So those were some of the points that I put down with intention for every interaction. So when you hear that, what do you immediately think of, DJ?
Well, again, it goes back to our talk of obviously the Oprah. We've said this a few times when we did talk about intention, but starting the meeting with intention. But I think even before that, it's the plan, and that's where I think that whole rope analogy really ties in perfectly. If you plan your week, you can be at the end of the week pulling that rope. But if you're just reacting or not really setting that intention. I mean, everything I do has some sort of intention to it. I mean, wearing the Cleveland stuff, I'll say it. I'll throw myself out there on blast. I have been trying to move out of here forever. I've been to North Carolina, Phoenix. I've been everywhere. But I'm here. It brings me back here. So I figured, hey, I got to represent it. It's me. And that's my intention of wearing the Cleveland stuff is so when you watch me, you remember.
Yesterday, saw a movie on Netflix called Heart of Champions. I don't know if you ever seen it. So, and I should actually Google to see if it's a true story, but it felt like a true story about a rowing team. And they bring in this coach, a new coach, and they're like explosive off the line, and they die, 1,000 meters in for a 2,000 meter race, and then they always lose. And his first question is, why are you here? And, the cocky captain, he goes, well, this is the training session and you called us. He says, no, why are you here? Like, what is your purpose here?
Yes.
And, why we do what we do drives every single thing we do. Like if we're aimlessly, and I'm speaking from experience here because I've walked into the office on way more days than I can ever possibly count. No direction, no intention. I got to make sales calls today and just pick up the phone and dial for dollars and dial for dollars and dial for dollars. And then you think you're setting intention. I've done it before where I've figured out, okay, every single cold call is worth $5 or every single cold call is worth $10. And I would print a bill off the internet and tape it to my phone. So every time I, the subconscious, every time I picked up the phone, it was worth $10 and did that. And that worked for like a week. And then aimlessly would walk into work again and walking with that intention to some days walking with the intention to say, I'm going to crush it. And then something would happen and the day would go to, a shit show for lack of a better term. And you'd never get it done. And that's where the intention with every interaction after I heard it from one of my mentors was like, what exactly do you want out of this call? What exactly do you want out of this meeting? What exactly do you want out of this team interaction? What exactly? And what I found, and call it robotic, I know some people agree with it, some people don't. I found I steered away from every conversation that didn't have intention. And I would just literally leave the room. And that would be as much as salespeople stopping by my office and just saying, hey, you have a second? So what's going on? And I'm like, look, is there a question? No, I was just calling to see how you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, no time for that. Sorry. And call it good or bad, because I know there's collaboration and there's inter-office, camaraderie. But I don't know. I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'll be polite and I'll be, a colleague, but like, we're not friends. I leave the company and brother, when I left, I really don't speak to anyone from there. The odd time I'll call somebody when I'm driving through town. I'll call one of the managers because he was a really cool guy, Peter. But and so for me, it turned into that. Okay, what's the mission? And it's probably overboard. Full transparency, I understand that, but it was every day driving in. Yeah. I would do my automobile university, and about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the office, I'd shut everything off and the car would be silent. And I'd literally talk to myself and say, okay, what's the intention for today? Like, what do I need to get done? What is going to help me move forward in my big 5 moves? How am I going to plan it? What is the intention? So what is my direction when I walk in the office? And I'd walk in like a SWAT team, like in just tunnel vision towards the goal. And I remember some people saying like, yeah, but you know what, Dan, like, people are going to think you're an asshole and all that. And I'm sure some people do. But I don't know. I find that when we have that intention and listen, maybe I took it too far again, but what if you block out an hour and set a like super intention and just get it done? And then block out another hour and then get an intention. And maybe you block out 30 minutes to walk around the office and say hi to everybody. And the intention is to maybe, and here's the set point on this, right? What is the intention of walking around the office? Is it to make people feel better when you leave than when you got there? Great intention, right? Is it maybe to help them become great conversationalists and ask them really great questions to help them? Maybe it's to practice how to ask questions for your sales calls. Like there could be all these intentions when it comes to chatting with colleagues. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you nailed it on the head when you said blinders on. I mean, that is what when I think of intentions, when I think of setting clear, Tom Bill, you talked a lot about clarity, and he think, just first principle, thinking from first principle, and really just being super clear on things. And I've always really just simplified that. So I think that was something that was always easy that made me kind of take those risks. But I think that's what we have to realize, guys. If you feel like and I've done, Dan, you said it, I'm guilty of it all the time. You feel like you're wandering around, like you have no clue what you're supposed to do in the next 15 minutes or next, even in what you're trying to do, period. You're walking around aimlessly. Stop and just give yourself a minute and really set, like Dan said, have that talk with yourself. I do the same thing. Okay, why am I doing this right now? What am I either running from? What am I hiding from? What am I delaying doing? What is going on? But I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when you have those clear intentions, it's like you have blinders on, like a horse, like the dude on a horse, and you're just you can follow that path. You're dead set on the path, and that's.
I love that you said, what am I hiding from or what am I avoiding?
Oh, it's true.
Like
True.
If we think about that for a second, right? Like even to the point where, 10 to 12 is sales calls and 10:05, you haven't picked up the phone. That 5-minute procrastination is because of something.
Yes.
And as much as some might say, oh, well, I had an operational issue. Nope. Because if you would have stepped up and done that operational or checked in with that 30 minutes prior than when you did, you could have had it resolved by then. If you have a team, like there's ways to ensure you're set and ready. If you set the intention from 10 o'clock on, I'm making calls. 10 till 12, I'm making calls. So with that intention, how do you start with the end in mind and work backwards?
Yes.
Okay. So on days when I'm 10 to 12, call it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to 12, I'm going to go into the office 30 minutes early. I'm going to get my check calls done 30 minutes. I'm like, and that only comes with intention, knowing this is what I'm doing when, and this is why I'm doing it, which brings us back to the beginning with the Heart of Champions. The first thing this coach said, why are you here? Yeah. And I'm sure I've shared the story about Mike when I had the conversation of, your why and everything. And he came in on the Monday morning and quit and went to become a cop because his why was to be a cop.
Went to be a cop.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. And it was like, I thought awesome, I gave this super motivational speech and he quit. And I was like,
I appreciate that. I mean, he set clear. I mean, you cleared his, and that's sometimes what we have to do to ourselves. That's what that talk is. I mean, it's okay. Why is this path not clear for me? What is wrong with this path? Yeah. And it's just, okay, let's get this shit out of the way and let's figure out why, and that's what you did for him. I mean, clearly.
Yeah. So. And the thing was, I had meant it to come back in on Monday morning.
Oh yeah.
Like a firestorm for this office. And he came in for a firestorm for what he really wanted to do. So in the end, it was still a great talk. Not quite on the level I wanted for the company, but it was still a great talk. And that was where intention kicked off. And it's funny because I watched him because he was one of those individuals who kept me up to date.
That's
and,
awesome.
Watched, I guess, is an operative word, but I watched him go through school with some of the highest marks. I watched him, like he would send me emails and texts saying, hey, listen, just want to let you know, like I'm on day 50 of my workout schedule. I'm getting strong. And I was like, wow, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Keep me in the loop. And he flew through one of the youngest people I've ever heard of to get put on force, right? Like that was intention at its fullest. And
yeah,
it's interesting because we've all operated with intention at some point. It's like, you know, you wake up in the morning, you say, this is what I want to accomplish, whether it be, you know, personally on the weekend. Okay, we got to do all the yard work, got to do this. And it's like, you know, head down, SWAT team it, get it done. And you're like, oh, that was awesome. I got it done. And then there's kind of that non-intention on a sales call.
yeah,
Right. We've all had intention on a sales call, and then we've all just picked up the phone to make a sales call. And what's the intention? And you know, breaking it down even more is, okay, what's the first intention? The first intention is to get a hold of the right person. So sometimes that means going through a gatekeeper. So the first intention is to wazzle dazzle and get through the gatekeeper. Second intention is to capture the prospect's attention. Then the third intention is to get XYZ information. And the fourth intent, you know, and there's all these steps that I truly believe if we operate within, like, okay, I want to qualify. So the first thing I'm going to do after I get their attention is I'm going to qualify them. Mm-hmm. And until I qualify them, I can't move on to the next thing I want to accomplish. Exactly. And it's like anything, like if you've ever done construction is a really big teacher of intention. Because you sit there and you're like, okay, I want to fix that. Okay, what's the first step? Sometimes the first step is destroying it in order to fix it. Because the best way to do it is destroy it. Right. And that means, you know, ripping trim off or, you know, like all of these things. It's like, okay. And then what's the next step? The next intention is to level everything out. The next intention is to shim, you know what I mean? And there's all these intentions, which are actually just steps in the process.
Such a great, and such a great analogy, because construction, just like putting furniture together. I know you guys are, everyone's got to be guilty of this, but you thought, oh, I could put this together without looking at the instructions. You put it together, and then you're like, shit, I had to do this before this. Oh, no. And then you got to take the whole thing apart. It's because, I mean, that's intention in its clearest form. I mean, that's if you're not following your steps with intention, you're going to get lost.
Because here's the thing. Everyone watching and listening has succeeded in some way, shape, or form. And I don't care if you're just starting in this industry and you haven't moved the load or haven't landed a customer. You've succeeded in some way, shape, or form. So if you're in that position, go to colleagues that you know and ask them, like, what are your steps to go through? And create an intention, like, and ask a couple of people, because, you know, this singular position is typically not a very good way to adopt your personality into something. Because I remember I took one person's, when I first started in the industry, I took one person's way of doing it, and I thought I had mastered it. And all of a sudden I learned something else, and I was like, ooh, hold on. And I integrated that and like got double the results. And it was a big learning experience, because for 5 years I did it one way. And I thought that way was working, but there was another way that was so much better. But it's just I was blind to it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nerv's got some good comments. Nerv, you cracked me up, man.
Here we go. Oh, jeepers. I didn't even realize all of these. So hold on. Nerv says, good morning, DJ and Dan. Office a whole. How are you guys? Office a-hole. How are you guys doing? Office a-hole. How you guys doing? Good, brother. I used to walk around the office and people stare at my Greek mythology physique. His parents.
He's like 6'6" and 280, isn't he, or something?
Yeah. It's like Ronnie Coleman over there in his prime. What are the intentions? Are they yours or someone else's? Do others hustle you, or are you driven by goals and objectives and objects? What are your goals and objectives? What do you want? Write down, honestly think about them, act on them.
Then act on
them. Honestly think about them, then act on them. Yeah. 100%. And here's
that was deep too, Jeff. I like that. Yes.
Yeah. And here's the big kicker, Jeff. The biggest question I have out of all of that is, for all of you watching and listening, what do you do every day to remind yourself of that and keep that in the forefront? Like, because that's paramount, right? It's great. And I'm sure a lot of you after today, Jeff's comment nails synchronizes everything down into a single paragraph.
Absolutely.
But what are you going to do tomorrow to remember that? What are you going to do the next day to remember? What are you going to do the next day to remember that? And, you know, part of that is a lot of these. And I still have to go out and get Scotch tape Actually, I think my wife got some on the weekend. But what I do is I have certain sayings that keeps my intention at the forefront. One of them being this.
It's like your
Choice by
blinders.
choice, I get closer to or further from my goals.
Yeah.
And, some people say, well, Dan, you still do that every day. Every day. That's what this is.
I have to.
This is my intention for the day. I spend 35, 40 minutes a day going through my calendar, looking at each appointment, writing my appointment down, and then saying, okay, what's my intention? Brackets. What do I want to accomplish? Like, intention is everything. When you drive intention on every single interaction, here, do me a favor. 1 week, every one of you do the work to say, I have this meeting. What is my intention? I have this meeting. What is my intention? And keep that intention, even if it's on a piece of paper right in front of you while you're doing what it is you're doing. If you have a presentation, what is the intention of the presentation? Keep those references in the presentation, like put them in there somewhere. Here's the reason why I'm showing you this, and set the intention with your prospects, set the intentions with your customers. Here's the reason I'm sharing this information with you on this. Here, exactly. I guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, just as sure as it's going to get dark tonight, you will be so much further ahead, and the week will feel like you absolutely crushed it. 1 week.
And to make it such a habit, I mean, do it with everything. Do it with your significant other. Do it with your kids. This is why I'm telling you this, and set the intention. Start. And literally, I think if you can set the intention in the beginning with everybody, it'll become such a habit.
That's actually a great idea. That's actually a great. I tend to do that more on the business side than anything, but that's actually a really good idea, DJ.
It helps.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It helps.
and that's the key, right? That's the big key is if everyone is on, and not only that, if you set the intention, like, hello, Mr. Prospect, I know I outbound called you, but my intention is to figure out if we connect, and then let's talk about working together. Does that sound fair? Yes. Now you're on the same page.
Yes.
In the conversation, and talk about the same page in the conversation. We are now late of the day. And here's actually a really interesting one. So the lane of the day today is in the reefer market. It's Houston to Omaha. Okay, so Houston to Omaha, when it comes to month over month or year over year, month over month, we're up about 10 cents. Line haul rates trending back and dropping around 30 cents a mile since March. 13 cents a mile higher than May on average. So that's your lane of the day with your exact Houston to Omaha. And it's funny because, I mean, it's kind of a lane where you're like, Omaha. But, like it was I always found that there was very few trucks in Nebraska as a whole. And maybe it was just more of a Canadian thing, but I always found that. And so when we're trending back up, after dropping 30 cents a mile since March, to go up 13 cents a mile in the last week is saying there's a push, right? There's a push going out there.
Maybe. Could it be?
Yeah, very well could be, because it's coming from Houston. Very well could be. Maybe we'll ask Dean on. Well, it's reefer, right? So, well, I never know. Maybe it's produce coming in because it's not quite produce season in Houston yet. But actually, it is kicking off, right? So it's it'll be interesting, and we'll obviously have an update of that at the end of the week, as to kind of what's transpired and all that. But that's your that lane of the day, everybody.
Yeah.
So back to it, DJ. What are the? And I know we're actually, we'll be pretty good on time.
We're doing pretty good. We're facing. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. I'm watching the clock, so we're not going to go over too much, I promise.
Yeah, but you know what? Thank you to all of you that actually stay with us a little bit longer and stay in the conversation. We really appreciate it, because here's the thing. We understand, like, y'all aren't just waking up in the morning saying, I don't know what I've got to do today. You got things to do. You got customers to serve, and to be here with us is amazing.
So you are setting your intention to start the day right, and we want to help you start it right.
I like how you put that in there, DJ. That was good. So what are some tricks that you use? What are some triggers? What are some of the things that you use to set intentions throughout your day?
So honestly, it's the book. I mean, I use a planner too. This Zig Ziglar book, guys. If you don't have a planner, if you don't have a planner you're already using, man, this Zig day planner. I mean, it really helps you set your intentions because even the way it's designed is okay. What are your big goals? Okay, now take those goals and you're going to make those your weekly goals, and now do this. And I mean, it literally is setting intention in every single. I mean, where I am so Sunday nights that's my thing, and then at the end of every night before I go to bed, that's what I'm looking at and just breaking down what do I have to do next. I feel extremely lost and extremely frustrated if I don't know what I'm have to do next. It's like I need to be planned out. I figured that out later on in life, but yes, I need that structure. I need that guidance. I need that clear path. Otherwise, I'm sidetracked a million ways. So just really knowing. I guess the trigger for me is my internal. I've become extremely self aware. So if I feel like I know because I use a calendar. I mean, I think my phone's beeped like 10 times right now in my lap. Like, oh, you got this coming up. Oh, you got this coming up. And it's little notifications or my calendar and my phone. Again, good triggers to just keep me again on track. It's those blinders keeping me focused. But that's without those, I'd be lost. I'd be lost.
Okay, that's actually a great way. I choose 3 words to set my life by: energetic, enthusiastic, and impactful. And I set those 3 words to go off 5 times a day as one trigger for me. So if I'm feeling low on energy, energetic, enthusiastic, impactful, those are the words you want to live by. That's the note kind of every 3 to 5 times a day. Same thing. I most nights I sit down with my agenda. If I don't do it at night, I do it 45 minutes, an hour in the morning. I ask myself certain questions: who needs me on my A game, all that kind of stuff that we've been over a couple of times. One thing I do is I say, what can I get excited about today? And I answer that in depth. What word describes me today? I answer that. I look at my notes all the time. And for me, the biggest thing for me when it came to intention is every single thing that I put in my agenda, as I write it and as I book the meeting, because I don't know about you, DJ, but I like have meetings booked a month out, right? And you have a conversation with the individual, and this is where the next setup and the intention of the next setup done in the present really helps. Because what I do is I set the meeting, and then in brackets, like in my calendar and in my agenda, I put under notes, like personal notes, not that get sent to the invitee.
Oh yeah.
My intention based on the conversation, because like you, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I remember that conversation, but certain words and certain mannerisms, certain emotion in the conversation dictate that route. And I've found it to be extraordinary when I put the intentions of the next meeting now. So if you and I had a meeting in a month and we talked about something, I said, okay, the intention is to do this. Once that's done, do this. Once that's done, do this. Once that's done, do this. And then I just kind of flush it out of my system. But when I'm setting up the meeting, it comes, a month time, and I'm sitting down, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got my meeting with DJ tomorrow. And I look at them like, yes, those are the intentions. So I rewrite them in the agenda. And for me, that's kept me on track in business meetings, like hands down. And
I love the way you explain that. It's like checkpoints in a video game. I was just playing Sonic, and it's like those little, like that little, every time that little bar there.
Playing Sonic.
I was playing it with Coop. I love that game. But yes, when you explain that, I thought of that. I thought of literally that red bar, like boop. Okay, that's the next checkpoint, and that's where you're at. That's the next checkpoint. That's where you're at. And
well, when's the best time to do anything? Right now. Like we have the call now. In a week from now, we'll say, hey, do you remember that conversation we had on Monday the 13th about intentions with every interaction? And it's great because we'll recall moments, but we won't recall the specifics. So things like you just said, what are you avoiding? What are you hiding from? We'll remember things like, oh yeah, we said, hey, make an interaction with every, make an intention with every interaction. We'll say some things, but the inner workings of the conversation, we won't remember the entire thing. Now, will it, or can it come back to us in different moments? For sure. But do you really have those moments? You got to be prepared walking in, because what's the biggest thing we've learned? And tomorrow we've got Tony Darnell, who's coming in, another customer, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly what he's going to say when it comes to how much time he actually has. Yes. So when somebody reserves the time, like all y'all do in this morning session, we got to get to it. And as much as it's great to have fun, like, you're here for a reason. What's the intention of you being here? Our intention is to deliver the best people in the industry, the best education in the industry, and help you achieve your goals. That's the intention with every call. DJ and I sit down and go, okay, this person on the show, no, not going to match. Yep. Let's get rid of them. And we have a very stringent qualification process. Certain things we won't bring to the show because we have an intention of what we want to deliver. And that should be the process for everything you do. Yes. Everything. I know it will drive huge results for you and for your teams and for your company.
Well, and I'll tell you just how easy it'll make your life. I mean, when I set those intentions and I am so clear and reverse engineer my goal, what I'm going to, my path, what I'm trying to do next, that I know what I'm supposed to do in the next 15 minutes, next half an hour. I don't. You don't have this anxiety like, what's next? What am I supposed to do next? How do I get there? You just know. And if you can just set your intention so clear that you just know what's next, oh my goodness.
Well, especially if you're doing cold calls, and especially if you're new to the industry. Like, if you're new to the industry, like some of you veterans out there might say, yeah, you know what? Like, I immediately, this is my go-to. And it's a habit intention. So this is what I do first. This is what I do second. I would also suggest, if you just reviewed those intentions before you did it, you'd probably be more powerful at it. But even bigger is those of you that are new. Yeah. What is your first intention with every email, with every phone call? What is the second intention? What is the third intention? And then if you're doing an email, like blasting out emails and emailing or DMing people, ask yourself, does this DM hit my first intention? Does it hit my second intention? Does it hit my third? And list them out. Like, every prospect, you can have the same intentions, and then they'll differ once there's a connection, because based on how they qualify and so on and so forth. But for prospecting, it's like, what's the first intention? Qualify. How do you do that? That's all you focus on. And then the second intention, figure out why they buy. And then the third intention, fulfill the why. 3 times, all the way around, every time. That's it. Lock it in and just get better at it.
Love it. All right, guys. Well, we are just over, so I am going to cut it there. Thank you so much, though, everybody, for joining us. Again, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Sales Chatter Live. Start your day right with us here. And if you are watching this on our replay later on YouTube, like and subscribe down below to just get notified when we're live next. But again, if you want to start your day right, start it here with us. American Logistics, Centurion Trucking, thank you so much for making this possible. Check out their little Dan's amazing voiceover. Dan, you have a great. Maggie was like, I didn't know that was Dan at first. I thought that was like one of those people from the radio or something. I'm like, yeah, that's Dan.
It's funny, DJ. When I'm doing video, like when I'm doing the voiceovers, I like, as soon as this plugs in and the red light goes on, it's like I go, hello and welcome to it. It's like, and then when I'm doing the audio in Audition afterwards, it's like, I've done some reverb on it and stuff like that, and kind of sound like the guys announcing the NHL games and stuff.
Yes, I just think it's a great job. Guys, catch it when he shows the video, especially his line, "Design your life today." You wanted to start designing your life today, start setting intentions. That's what I can tell you.
Killer. That might, I don't know, DJ. That might be the quote.
Well, I'm gonna finish with one that I know you like. So, Amelia Clark, and this is: my father always said, "Never trust anyone whose TV is bigger than their bookshelf." So I make sure I read, y'all, and set intentions.
That's good, but I think your comment, your quote just trumped that, brother. Way to go.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Centurion Trucking, our motto is people before profit. Today's market requires more transparency, consistency, and focus on what our clients need to win. Centurion Trucking and American Logistics are poised to help their clients achieve and surpass their targets. If you're looking for a team that honors your needs, dreams, and aspirations, then get a hold of Daman at American Logistics or Centurion Trucking.